What is up and welcome back, and I'm real excited to show you the brand new Flydigi Vader 4 Pro controller. It has been redesigned in a lot of different areas. The D-pad, the joysticks, the 4 face buttons, and also the triggers. Now this one right here is going to be different than the Apex 4. It is going to have some unique characteristics about it, and one of them is going to be that I like a whole lot is that you can adjust the tension of the joysticks with the rings. You see right here, you can make it really tight or loosen it up depending your play style, and you can do that for both areas, the right joystick and the left joystick. Also, the D-pad has been improved because you get a lot more better circular motion when you're using the D-pad, and that can help you out if you like playing certain games. For example, a racing game, maybe a fighting game where you use the D-pad. So nice improvement there. Also, as you can tell with the face buttons, you have 6 of them. You have these 4 up here, and they're going to be mechanical. Just listen to that. It does sound a lot like a mouse, so that's a nice feel to it when you're playing. And then you're going to have 2 extra buttons down here. And what I love about these 2 is that you can bind whatever you want to these 2 buttons. So for me, I do love the claw, and I'm always finding extra buttons that I need. Most of the time, I don't get to put all the buttons I need when I'm playing. Now with this type of setup, I was surprised I actually had 1 leftover button, and that has never happened to me in any controller. So very nice details, and these 2 extra buttons are nice add-ons, but you also get, if you turn around, the 4 extra paddles right there. Right, so you're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 extra buttons. So that right there is going to be a big time game changer. Now with these 4 buttons in the back, you cannot program them just like so. You're actually going to need to use the software that comes with this controller, the Space Station software, and it's real easy. So don't even feel stressed out if you get this controller. Real easy to bind whatever you want to these 2 and these 4 buttons in the back. Also, as you can tell, there's a switch right here in the middle, so that's going to allow you to set it to the middle for Bluetooth, to the left for the PC or the dongle, and then to the far right you're going to be able to connect the switch. I do have it connected to the PC. You can see it right here, wired. I love playing wired to get the best connection possible, and you get a nice RGB in the center. I do like how that looks. Maybe other players, they might not like that. It's going to be all preference, but I think that looks real nice right there down the center. And also for the triggers, you can see when you click down, they do sound like a mouse as well, and that's because I am using the trigger stops. When you do take the trigger stops off, they do become a lot more silent. Just look at that. You do have to press further down. Once you activate the trigger stops, just look at that. Beautiful. They do have a little bit of texture in the interior along this side, not on this side. Hopefully the camera can capture it. Texture in this interior, but not over here. Okay. Clicky sound. Very nice. So I do love those details. And also, if you do get this controller, you can find out with the information. The information available, it does say you're less likely to get a stick drift with these type of joysticks. So as you can tell, Flydigi improving a lot. This controller, you do get a lot in the box. And not just that, the software is going to help out the controller. You can do unique type details, and I am going to showcase that as well. But you can really fine-tune this controller in a lot of different ways that you can with other controllers. And a little bit more with the software, there is an option on there that it does find the dead zone of the joystick. So if it does happen to maybe get a little bit loose, right, that option is going to allow you to find the new dead zone. So pretty much, if you do have stick drift and you leave your controller by itself, not touching the joysticks, that new calibration is going to find the new dead zone, so you don't have stick drift anymore. So I think that's just an amazing detail. you're going to be able to play real nice. So a lot of good things with the Flydigi Vader 4 Pro. So that's a nice overview. I'll flip it around one more time, and then also you can see the quality of it. Right here, it is going to be plastic with a little bit of texture on it. So it is going to be different compared to the Apex 4, where it has a different type of material down here for the grips. So going to unplug it and show you what the weight of these controllers is going to be. I do have the scale right here. Let's start out with the Elite 2. Look at that, 12.05 ounces, somewhat heavy. Then the Apex 4, 11.55, not bad so far. We're dropping weight. And then lastly, the Vader 4 Pro, 9.45. So it is going to be a light controller. I don't mind heavy or light, right? So this right here, if you do play for a long time, it is going to help you out. You're going to get less fatigue. Yet, now when you do have this controller in hand, you're going to feel that it still has great quality. Just look at it, right? Even though it is going to cost less than the Apex 4, the price is going to be available pretty soon when this controller releases, but I do have information that it is going to be less than the Apex 4. Yeah, like I said, it does feel fantastic in hand. I do love the feel of it. I don't have it connected to the game right now, but I did already test it out for a couple of days, and I just feel very smooth, very easy, seamless transition from the Elite 2 and even the Apex 4. So definitely do recommend it. So now let's get into more details about the Space Station software. And before we get into the software, you're also going to receive a dongle that you can use for connecting wirelessly, a USB-C cable, and then your instruction booklet and some promo information. Also with the instruction booklet, you can see right there that it is going to be compatible for the PC, the Android or iOS for mobiles, and then for the Switch. So you have that information now available. So moving on, now you're going to want to go to the Flydigi webpage and download the Space Station app. And make sure that it's updated or you have the latest software, because this is a new controller, so you're going to want that new controller to be already loaded to the actual app. And once you have the app set up, then plug in your controller and it should read your Vader 4 Pro. As you can tell, there's a picture of it right here. It detected it automatically and it loads you up to a screen like this one. And one of the first things I want to mention about this app is that you can see right here that you do have 4 profiles that you can set up. And depending on what game you're going to use, it could be a racing game, a fighting game, you can have your settings specifically to that game. You just click right here, and now you're going to be using this profile, or you click right here and you use this profile. Now I do have everything set up on my number 1 profile, so that's the one I'm going to show you right now. So the home page is going to be a summary of everything that you have going on. So let's go step by step, and then at the end we'll come back to the home screen. So the first thing is going to be going to the button setups, and here is where you can bind any button that you want. You see the C and the Z, that's going to be those 2 additional black buttons underneath your face controller, right? We have the controller right here, so it's going to be those 2 buttons that are underneath. You probably can't see it because of the camera, but you know what I'm talking about. So right there, all you have to do is click, for example, on the C, and then it'll tell you press any button that you want to map out. You can press even the D-pad. So I press the D-pad and you see it's pointing left on the D-pad. Same thing with the Z. You can click on it and I can press the left bumper, and now it's going to be left bumper on the Z. So as you can tell, you can program any button you want to any of the back paddles or the C and Z button on your controller. Also, you can switch up any other button that you want as well For the A, you can make the A be something else. For the pressing down on the left stick, you can change that to something else as well. And you can even program your bumpers and your triggers down here. I do like having crouch on my left trigger, so you can see that it's going to be a B right here for my left trigger. So that's going to be very straightforward, very simple. That makes it easy to do. So that's going to be this section, the mapping your buttons. Now moving to the joysticks, just like the Elite 2, you can control the curves. You can see right here you have your left stick and your right stick. On your left stick you can have default, which is a straight line. You can have instant. You want it to be more responsive, right? You have a little slight delay, or custom, anything in between. You can move the curve how you want your left joystick to respond. Now for me, I do like having my left stick be instant. I like my character moving left and right as quick as I can when I'm strafing, when I'm in a battle. So I leave it on instant. And you can scroll down some more and you can see right here that it allows you to move the dead zone right here, joystick center. And that's very unique, right? You can have this dead zone where nothing moves. You can have that circle become even bigger if that's something you like to have. By moving these options right here, the slider left and right, you can have that dead zone be really big if that's something you're trying to do. Or you can have it very small, right? I don't recommend making it very small, because then any little movement, any little thing that you touch, it's just going to make that character move. And I'll give you an example. Right here I'm going to move the dead zone all the way over here. I'll go into the game and you can see that dead zone is 100%. So no matter what I do with my joystick, it's not moving. Now let me go back to the app, right? If I move it like this, somewhat in the middle, then it's going to have the circle, the dead zone in the center is a little bigger, but not too big. So if I move my stick a little bit up or a little bit down, it doesn't move at all. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm moving a little bit up, a little bit down. Nothing is moving. Now once I get past that circle, then the character starts moving. So you see that? That's how that's going to work. And if you go all the way over here in the app, right? Now you made that dead zone very tiny. It's like a little tiny dot right there. Okay? So look what happened when you do that. See, I barely touched my controller. It even feels that I have a little bit of stick drift. But what's happening is my thumb is barely moving. Very micro movement. So every little movement that I make on my controller just makes my character move. So you see that? That's going to be how that works. So pretty much this is going to be how you feel it's going to be best for you. I don't know really any situation where somebody would want it all the way over here, making that dead zone a tiny little dot, right? The best thing is going to be to have it at 0. Or if you want to make that dead zone bigger because your thumb is real shaky, you can make that circle bigger, right? And that's going to be the same concept right here for the joystick edge. So right here is going to be the edge. And you can do the same thing. You can make that circle, the edge, make it close in, right? Or you could expand it, leave it all the way, right? So again, that's the unique thing about this controller. And you can see how the curve moves, right? You're making that edge move inward, and then you can move the edge move back out, even more delayed, where you really have to get all the way to the edge, and then there's a slight delay as well. So there you have it. You see in both options right there. And you can restore your settings right there, look. restore your, says any changes of current page will be restored to the factory. So right there is going to reset just this page. If I go back over here to this page, my bindings, they're going to be exactly the same. So when you do restore, it just restores this page. So don't worry about messing up your other changes. Okay, going to put this back to how I had it. Just going to be instant, and there we go. Okay, and there are some right here. We click right here, enter some more advanced settings. We're going to go into that right now. Now I do want to apologize ahead of time if my voice starts to break. I am recovering from COVID, so with that said, let's keep it going. So I'm not going to cover every little detail on the advanced settings because we can be here all day, but I am going to give you a nice overview of some of them. So right here for the joystick debouncer, that's going to be if your thumb does have some jitters. So if you are having a thumb that's moving a whole lot, kind of trembling, it might be towards your advantage to have this on. It definitely is going to smooth out the movement, right? So your character is not doing this when you're trying to hit a shot, for example, for an FPS game. Now the joystick automatic calibration. I did mention earlier that the joystick does have software that is able to detect where the dead zone is at, where there's no movement happening. So for example, if after a long time of playing with your controller, the sticks, instead of moving straight at the center, it moves slightly a little bit to the left and stays there, and then doesn't move anymore. This right here, when you do click on it, it does say that once you're not touching the stick, this controller is able to find where the dead zone is going to be lying, where it's going to be resting. So that is very nice and unique, because then it can avoid any possible stick drift ever happening. So very unique feature. Love to see stuff like that. Right here is going to be joystick accuracy, and it does allow you to choose the bits that you want for your joysticks. This is pretty much going to be resolution, right? The higher resolution you have is going to mean that it's going to require more preciseness. So for example, if you do have it right here at 10, you are going to have 10 points to make a line. Imagine there's a line right here. There's going to be 10 points. So you have to hit those 10 dots to make that straight line. But if you do make it into a higher number, for example 12, then there's going to be 12 points. So you have to hit those 12 points in order to make that straight line. And right here, if you do lower it to around 8, there's going to be 8 points. So it's a lot easier to make a straight line. But it does mean there's going to be less accuracy, right? So you can be more accurate with more points, and you can be less accurate with less points, but it's still going to look like a line. So it's going to depend on how well you are able to connect those lines to create that line. So that's really going to come down to having very good muscle memory with that thumb to create that straight line and be very accurate with your targets. So I'm going to say, if you are very advanced, it could benefit you to move it up if you do prefer it that way. But sometimes a lot of players like it somewhat in between, because you don't have to be as accurate. And a lot of other controllers, for example, the Elite 2, I believe it does arrive on a 9 or an 8. I don't recall at this moment. So right here, your the default setting is going to be a 10. So you get a little bit more accuracy by default. But you can move it towards your preference. Moving down, the polling rate, 1000, right? Very nice to have that. How fast the information is transmitted from once you move the joystick to your computer, 1000 hertz for the polling rate. Very nice, but you can lower it depending on what you like. And again, you can lower it to a different setting if you do like it to be lowered, but it is going to be better to have it higher. You don't want no delay from your input to the computer and to the game. So this right here is going to help you to be a little bit faster in that area. Now we do have joystick sensitivity for the center. Very straightforward. How much sensitivity you want for that center of that joystick. You can have it at medium default, or you can move it higher or lower. And then lastly, we move down to the last option. It's going to be joystick rebalance algorithm. Now what this is going to do, for example, if you do like doing flick shots, right? If you do flick your controller to the right, you've probably noticed that sometimes there's a little rebound when you're done with the flick and the joystick starts moving back down to the center, right? So this right here, by activating this option right here, it is going to eliminate having that rebound, right? So maybe you do like when you do flick that the joystick stops at the end of your flick where your character is looking at, right? So you can activate that in those type of situations. And pretty much for me, when I do flicks, for example, with a sniper gun in an FPS game, I do like the rebound. To me, I like snapping on somebody and then being able to keep moving the joystick. So it is just going to be a setting if you do want to try it out and maybe see if it's beneficial towards you, but I'm going to recommend that you keep the rebound. That's what I like personally, but everybody is a little different. So there you have it. You do have a quick overview of all the settings right here for the advanced settings for the joysticks. So keeping it going, now we covered all this right here, and then I didn't want to forget to talk about this. It does say circular algorithm. You either can have a circle or a rectangle, and pretty much what this means is that when you do a circle, right, you can have a perfect circle when you're moving the joystick in that type of direction, or you can have it be somewhat rectangle, right? So it's not going to be a perfect circle. And you might ask yourself, why would I want to switch between both of these two? For example, in an FPS game, you do like to move very smooth, right? Maybe when you're strafing, you do want that circular motion to be very smooth, and you control every bit of it where that character is moving. And rectangular, maybe it could be more beneficial if you're trying to have a more linear type movement, right? That could be maybe a 2D game or some sort of game where you see that it's more of a benefit to be moving more linear instead of more circular motion. So there you have those options. If you do click on these right here, it's always going to give you an explanation, right, on every one of these options, and you can click on them and dive into all of them more. Even the same thing for all the advanced settings. Okay, so I do like that it does give you an explanation for each one of them. You don't just have to guess what it is. You can just read it and then figure out what it's trying to say. So that's going to do it for the joystick section. Now let's move on to the gyro. If you do use a gyro, you have the option right here of choosing FPS mode or racing mode. And I never used a gyro, but if you are custom, now you know you do have that setting available to you. Moving on to the triggers. I do love the trigger section. It gives you a lot of customization. For example, right here, hopefully the camera can capture it, but it has a picture of a trigger, and then it has a blue area marked down the center of that trigger. So this right here, you can control how much of that stroke setting you want, right? You can lower, make that blue setting shorter, or you can make it bigger. It's all going to be the feeling of it. Once you're in game, you're going to see what feels better to you, and I'm going to say it is going to vary depending on the game that you're playing, right? On certain games, just an overall, all these settings right here is so nice that they give you 4 profiles, because every game has its own presets, how the game wants you to interpret its game, how the feel of that game is. So when you go into these settings, maybe you move some around, and for one game, they're not going to be that obvious. You're not going to feel the changes as much. But for a different game, when you do move the settings, you're going to feel it be more pronounced. So just mess around with these settings. Again, this is going to be the stroke, right? It has a picture of it. So when you press down, you can move it, make it wider, make it shorter. Moving further down. Trigger vibration, you can have it on or off, right? We've seen that before in many other controllers. The intensity, you can make it more intense, right? More shaking. It's at default at 50, but you can make it shake even more or shake even less. And then right here we have the trigger amplitude. There's going to be amplitude, you know it is a wave, right? So you can make that wave a lot bigger, right? That's going to go hand in hand with the trigger or the vibration intensity. Vibration intensity mixed with the amplitude, right? You can actually customize or really get that vibration just how you like it. So they are giving you full control of that vibration with all these settings. Like I mentioned, I don't use the vibration at all really in any of the games that I play. So I am not an expert in this area, but if you do like to nerd out, you have all these options for the vibration. So very nice right there for the triggers. Okay, full customization right there. Now moving on, we go over here to the general area. It's going to be the last one, and you do have right here, you can control how bright the LEDs can be. Right, we do have it right there. You can see if I do lower it, see I'm right here on the setting for the brightness. Right there, it's at 1, not as bright. I'm moving it up, 26, it's at 54, it's at 100. It gets really bright, right? Very nice. You can do that with the controller. Also lets you control the time. I put it all the way up for the time. It's going to take a longer time for it to change color. Then if I lower it, look at that. Changes color really fast. Sorry about the camera. I will give you a different view later so you can see the difference. But now you know you can do that. Okay. You can change the brightness, how bright you want that RGB to look like. You can change it how fast you want the colors to change. Real fast, you make it real low. You want the colors to change less, you put it up a lot higher. So it gives you a lot of customization. And then right here again, they'll let you test out the vibration, the grip. And again, you do have the vibration intensity. And I did want to mention something so you don't get confused if this is your first time looking at the Flydigi. So this vibration is going to be the vibration right here along the grips for the general area. Vibration intensity is going to be right here along the grips. Okay. Now when we go to the trigger area, this vibration that we're talking about is going to be for the actual triggers, because we're in the trigger section. So don't get that confused. And they do give you a little bit more customization for the triggers. I feel, like I said, for me, any type of vibration just throws me off completely. So I have this vibration off and then the top vibration off as well. So that's just going to be my recommendations, but you know what you like best for your play style and the game you play. So that's going to cover all these sections right here. Go back to the home, and the home is going to give you a summary of what you have, right? You can see right here, it has the buttons that I do have mapped. My joystick dead zones, I keep them pretty much at the default. The joystick sensitivity on the left one, I'm more instant. On the right, I'm more default, right? I like my aiming not to be as instant. I feel I miss more shots when it's more responsive. I wanted a nice medium. And then again, I don't have no gyro. Right here says enable button LT. I did move the LT down to the one of the paddles, so that's why it's showing it like that. And then trigger vibration on. It is on right now because I was demonstrating it, but I am going to turn it off once I finish explaining the Space Station app. And then it shows right here my general mode settings, how I have my RGB lighting. And then again down here, the trigger vibration. And it's nice that you can turn it off right there. Look, it shows trigger vibration off. So now I have all the vibration off, and that's going to be best for how I play. And a few more options. You can go up here to test. Let me move this down a little bit so it shows up. But you can move up here the test, right? You can test what buttons you're pressing. You see I'm pressing the A right now. It's showing that's registering the A, pressing the B. With my joysticks. Alright, look at that. We're getting that 1000 hertz. We're pretty much right there at the 1000 hertz area. Does fluctuate somewhat, but we do get very nice readings that move pretty high. You love to see it, right? Good responsiveness right there. And then I do love, again, the polling rate gives you a diagram, so that's going to be in the test area. Very nice to say wired connection, but you can do the same thing with when it's Bluetooth, and you can see how the polling rate is comparing. And then right here for the switch mode, if you do have try to play with this controller for the switch system, you have that option right there. But mainly for me, it's going to be PC. So that's going to be a nice overview for everybody. Hopefully you got something out of this video. And like I said, I apologize for my voice. I'm still trying to recover, but I want to give everybody the insights on how this controller works. So that's going to do it for this overview of the Vader 4 Pro. I definitely think it's a controller that brings a lot of new things to the table. I do love the rings, how you can tighten up the joysticks how you like in-game instantly. You don't need small tools or anything like that. You just turn it, and it's very solid. Also, the joysticks, they do lower the stick drift a whole lot, almost to nothing. And if you do happen to get slight stick drift in the future, it has that chip where it can calibrate the center and then find that new dead zone. So definitely nice to see it, something brand new. Practically you're not gonna have no stick drift ever. Hopefully it's able to withstand the test of time, but so far everything I've seen has been top quality. Good solid D-pad if you do use the D-pad. I love the feel of this controller. It has a mouse-like feel with the 4 face buttons and the triggers. Plus you can customize it a whole lot with the paddles in the back, the 2 buttons in the front. In fact, you're going to have extra buttons that you don't use, and I don't have that problem ever. I have never had that problem ever. Most of the time I'm looking for more buttons, and I wish I had more buttons on my controller. So this is the first time where I do have a controller and I have everything mapped how I like it, and I have an extra button that I'm not even using. So that's a nice problem to have. And like I said, also with the software, the Space Station app, you can customize the feel of the joystick, which is very important to a lot of players, a lot of FPS players. You can fine tune it even more, right? So that right there is going to give you that extra pro feel, and that's why it's called the Vader 4 Pro, just taking it a step above. So that's going to be the overview of this controller. Hopefully you got something out of it, and if you did, please sub and like. I am a smaller channel. Every little bit goes a long way. We'll be back next time with more. Until then, peace and much love.